You're watching Tennessee Titans today. I am Tom Downey. We're going to break down the latest on training camp for the Tennessee Titans, but we are once again asking you guys to subscribe. I assume that everybody watching here is a Titans fan, which means you should want the free videos we give you on training camp and the preseason. And if you don't love the Tennessee Titans, then fuck. This is Tennessee Titans Today. I am Tom Downey here with the latest on training camp for Tennessee. It was a no media availability day, but there were still some news and notes we want to get to overall, beginning with the Elijah Molden situation. Molden has been out since Friday after he came up limping following a drill, which is a bit of a red flag for Tennessee. He has not been present for bordering on a week now, although maybe he was present today. We don't know. There was no media availability. It's not necessarily the end of the world here for Molden, but I do want to hear from you guys. What is your panic level as we sit right now over Elijah Molden? Scale this 1 to 100. 1 being there's nothing to be worried about, much ado over nothing. 100 being you're freaking out, you're worried he doesn't have a leg anymore. It's not 100, probably not a 1 either, but let me know in the comments. I myself am not that worried for 2 main reasons. And number 1, it's early in training camp. This is August 3rd we're talking about, not August 31st or September 3rd or October 3rd. It's camp. You take things slow and cautious from that standpoint. Number 2 is the hype right now around Roger McCreary. Roger McCreary is getting all of the hype right now, and that is a very good thing for Tennessee. Whether it's another Caleb Farley injury or Molden's banged up, McCreary is in a spot to be the number 1 go-to backup corner, and he has been balling in a way that, frankly, as someone who loved him coming out, I wasn't sure he'd be this good based on the hype and the buzz from Tennessee. Here's what Shane Bowen had to say on McCreary. He's not a rookie. I don't feel him as a first-year guy. He's poised. He doesn't panic in coverage. He stays square. He challenges. He's got a good understanding of what it takes to play man-to-man, and we saw that stuff from his college tape. He's been able to come in here and translate. He's been outside. He's been inside. He's handled it. I am really pleased with where he's at. I have no doubts that the selection of McCreary was a best player on the board situation for Tennessee. He fell to them in round 2. His tape was first-round caliber, but he's undersized, short arms, didn't test that well athletically. Despite that, he's sticky as hell in coverage. Watch the Alabama game. That's what Shane Bowen's referring to. The Bama game against the top-end competition, he was a lockdown corner. And it's a bit of an iron sharpens iron situation here with Treylon Burks, Roger McCreary getting to go back and forth with each other from that standpoint. And I think that has made both of them better. In fact, McCreary agrees with that. Quote about his battle with Treylon Burks and both guys winning some, and that's been, I think, a positive thing for all parties involved. I'm trying to get him better. He's going to try and get me better. If he makes a good play, I'm going to say to him, good job. If I make a good play, we talk back and forth. That's a little bit of the trash talk you like to see from your corner, by the way. Your two early round picks, I should say, Burks and McCreary, are some of the biggest camp winners so far. Who are you more hyped about? Type in TB for Treylon Burks or type in RM for Roger McCreary. This is going to be the pinned comment on today's show, so if you get the ad break by chance here on YouTube, perfect timing. Take advantage of it, head down there, and let me know. Let's move on to some more hype buzz around training camp. Kyle Phillips, the rookie wide receiver out of UCLA, he's been getting some reps with the first team, the ones, if you will, at slot receiver. And that was on Tuesday's practice. That's a good sign for the young wideout who is a pure slot receiver in the NFL. I am very curious in the end how Tennessee manages to utilize their entire wide receiving core. How do they juggle everybody from that standpoint? Does Treylon Burks get some outside receiver reps, or does he get some slot receiver reps, or is it a combination of both in the end? How does that balance play out? Because Phillips can only play in the slot. He's not somebody that's able to go on the outside. He's simply too small, too short-armed, too quicker than fast to handle that. So if he's your slot receiver, that would in the end negatively impact one Nick Westbrook-Akina, because that puts him as a backup on the outside because you want to have Robert Woods and Burks as your key guys. So Phillips' competition, slot only would potentially impact how NWI and Burks' roles are handled early on in year one for the first-year players in Burks and Phillips. Now, if you have not already bought a Titans t-shirt combo pack, what are you waiting for? Fantastic deal available from our friends over at Fanatics, still on sale for a limited time only. If you haven't bought one, I really don't know what you're waiting for. You will not find a better deal, and it's nice to introduce some new options to wear during game days this year. Chatsports.com/Titans combo. That link's in the comments section and the description of today's show. Look at that, more receiver talk. Racey McMath, the mainly core special teamer for Tennessee, had himself a great day on Tuesday. Several catches, including some from Ryan Tannehill, and some touchdowns as well. I think these special teams contributions that McMath and Phillips offer mean they will most likely make this team. And if they can contribute at least a little bit as a backup receiver, that carries extra value for the organization. So McMath's a great height, weight, speed prospect, but still needs to learn some of the finer things of playing receiver, but a good camp so far for the second-year wideout. Speaking of good camp, that is Ryan Tannehill right now. He has been sharp in the publicly available, media available, 7-on-7 and team drills. He is 50 of 66 so far in camp, 0 interceptions. Despite some nice plays by McCreary, etc., Tannehill has not been the one throwing interceptions in 7-on-7 and team drills. And the hope is that Tannehill's production looks a little bit more like, honestly, top 10 quarterback in 2020 as opposed to and more around league average in 2021. The Titans, if they want to make a real playoff push where they have in the past couple of years, they need Tannehill to take that step forward. At his age, that's not always that common, but it does happen sometimes. So with that in mind, do you trust Ryan Tannehill? Y for yes, N for no. Sound off and let me hear your opinions in the comments section. All right, time for some not-so-great notes here on Titans camp from Paul Kowarski. I know it's Paul, but bear with me. Larell Murchison is clearly in the thick of a competition for a back-end defensive line spot. Appeared to land in somewhat of a doghouse during off-season work and hasn't worked up to higher level of reps yet. This puts Murchison firmly on the roster bubble in Tennessee. Danico Autry, Tyler Tart, Jeffrey Simmons, Pry Jones are going to make this team. DeMarcus Walker and Deshaun Hand, too, are the big competitions in terms of the other defensive linemen that are going to push Murchison, the former draft pick. Well, it's quite a bit coming out of NC State. The red flag here is that DeMarcus Walker got a ton of praise from Mike Vrabel for his offseason work. Clearly, Murchison didn't get the same amount, and that is not a good situation when you are fighting for a roster spot. So make your predictions. Will Larell Murchison make the roster this year for Tennessee? Or maybe fan favorites like Jaden Peavy and Haskell Garrett will impress too. A for yes, B for no. Make your predictions in the comments. Time for the weirder story I think we'll get out of Titans camp this year. Initially reported by A to Z Sports Nashville in that part of the screenshot tweet here. JaMarco Jones went after offensive tackle Taylor Lewan before practice on Tuesday. That was de-escalated, and then Vrabel was kicked out of practice, or Vrabel kicked out Jones. Teron Davenport, ESPN, then said fans are here at practice and witnessed it. Jones was on the side during team stretch, then came back into practice. Now, Jones said later they were just messing around, boys were being boys and whatnot. I'm not sure I buy that. It is very rare to see two offensive guys go at it. Normally, a tackle and a lineman, a guard and a lineman, those guys go at it because they're fighting back and forth and chirping and getting frustrated if one wins and one doesn't. But two offensive players going at it is fairly rare. Knowing Taylor Lewan and how he tends to operate, that could be a big portion of it. I'm not going to assign blame. We don't know what happened. In the end, it's probably nothing. It's probably not a big deal that the two offensive linemen, potentially your left tackle and your left guard, were jawing and went at it. If it is, well, we saw the early signs, I guess, in camp. This is the end of today's video. If you are a real one and you watch to the end of the video, show it, and we'll give you some love in the comments if you spam real one right now.